Hello and welcome to the Original Rushman Show. On this show, we will be taking an historical look into the mystical, magical, musical world of Rush, highlighting the career of Rush as seen through the eyes of a Rush fan of over 45 years. So join me on this journey by subscribing below, and maybe you can discover the Rush that I know. All right, thanks for joining me for episode number 18 of the Original Rushman Show. The 70s, the greatest era in music history. But one bad apple spoiled the whole bunch. While every decade has its great music to brag about, the 70s were an epic time for rock music. The 50s and 60s, they were just trying to figure out how to play. But in the 70s, the popularity exploded, merging a wide variety of influences into new and exciting sounds. These experimental sounds would define the genres that would come after. The summer between my freshman and sophomore years was spent learning about some of the greatest musicians, creating some of the greatest rock bands in the history of music. I mean, I could name off 20 bands and still be leaving off probably another 20 bands. But some of my favorites were AC/DC, Aerosmith, Boston, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Queen, Journey, Uriah Heep, UFO, Scorpions, Judas Priest, Styx, and a band called Rush. Out of all those bands, one of my favorites was UFO. And they didn't get the exposure that some of the other bands did, but they had some great music. And one of my favorite songs I always thought was called Misty Green and Blue, because those are the words that stood out to me that I remembered. But it's a song called Love to Love. Now, I don't know if anybody's around that saw Rush and UFO in concert together, but if you are, I'm extremely jealous. But if you did, this is what it sounded like.
All right, this is something else of our Lights Out album. Something called Love to Love. advertisement, down motels, live shots. What amounts up to, I don't want it at all. Lost you and I need you to stay. Misty green and blue. Love to love you. Misty green and blue. Love to love you.
Michael Shaker. Michael Schenker was always one of my favorite guitarists. I just love his sound. That's the type of music that I loved. I mean, it was unique. I loved when bands, 3, 4, 5 musicians get together just away from society and create something on their own without outside influences. Not too many influences. And I could not wait to get to school and share everything that I've learned with my classmates. But before I could get a chance to do that, apparently there was a pole shift sometime during that summer and turned my world upside down. I get to school and the very first class, and the teacher's talking about asking everybody what they do for the summer, just trying to get to know you type of thing. When she asked what kind of music we were listening to, this bubbly little girl to my right pipes up and says, disco. And then half the class went, oh, yeah, disco. And then the teacher goes, oh, yes, I love disco. And I'm sitting there going, I hate disco. And I guess the teacher saw my disgust and she asked me what kind of music I was listening to. And I said, well, rock, of course. But not that it matters to any of you people. If y'all listen to disco, you wouldn't be able to appreciate what I've been listening to. Now, disco might have been invented in some Frenchy French town in France in 1969, but it didn't reach my ears until 1977. And it was dead by 1979. But for those 2 years, it was played everywhere, in all the radio stations, over and over and over and over and over again, incessantly, which made it almost impossible to listen to the radio. And to this day, if somebody mentions 70s music, disco immediately comes to the forefront. And that just offends me to no end. Because regardless of the genre, other than disco, the 70s music was awesome. Whether it was rock, pop, jazz, R&B, jazz fusion, punk rock, glam rock, and even country were filled with talented musicians making amazing music. Whether I was a big fan of that style of music or not didn't matter. I could tell that there was talent that was creating that music. And so when people associate 70s music with disco, I get offended because there's so much more to 70s music than 2 years of disco. Disco is like a recurring nightmare. It just keeps coming back over and over and over again just to haunt you. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Original Rushman Show. But before you go, don't forget to hit that like and that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.